Let's begin by confronting a profound, yet often invisible, truth about our daily existence. We live in a state of perpetual, low-grade neurological warfare. From the moment you engage with the world, whether stepping into a corporate office, logging onto a virtual meeting, or even just preparing your mind for a day of complex tasks, your nervous system is mobilized for battle. It's not merely about completing tasks. It's about performance, perception, and persuasion. Every interaction demands a calculated output. You must build your personal brand in real time, solve multifaceted problems under scrutiny, and convince stakeholders of your value. The reflex required is one of hypervigilance. There is no room for mental fog, no luxury of ambiguity. A single moment of unfocused thought can mean a missed opportunity, a misinterpreted instruction, or a loss of credibility. Your cognitive resources are a finite currency, and the modern professional environment is designed to spend them relentlessly. Consider the physiological and psychological toll this takes. Your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mechanism, is repeatedly activated throughout the day. You're not running from predators, but you are navigating predatory deadlines, competitive colleagues, and the ever-present fear of irrelevance. Each email notification, each unexpected question in a meeting, each critical piece of feedback is a microstressor. They accumulate. Without deliberate decompression, this state leads to a phenomenon known as allostatic load, the cumulative wear and tear on the body and brain from chronic stress. You might notice it as mental fatigue, irritability, difficulty sleeping, or a sense of being constantly on edge. The professional persona you cultivate, sharp, decisive, unflappable, comes at a direct cost to your inner reserves. Why do we accept this as the default? Why do we wear this exhaustion as a badge of honor, rather than recognizing it as a systemic leak in our human design? Now, let's pivot to the most critical transition of the day, the journey home. This is where the second, and often more damaging, act of this daily drama unfolds. You carry this exhausted, wire-taught mind across the threshold of your personal sanctuary. You bring home the battlefield. The problem is, the tools that ensure survival in the professional jungle, skepticism, debate, logical analysis, assertive communication, are poison to the ecosystem of intimate relationships. Your partner, your family, they are not clients to be managed or opponents to be debated. They are your replenishment station. Yet, how often do we, especially men, make the catastrophic error of treating home as an extension of the office? We walk in, still buzzing with the adrenaline of the day, and we seek to solve problems, to optimize household dynamics, or to retreat into silent, brooding analysis. This is a fundamental category error. The core need of a partner after a long day is almost universally misunderstood. It is not for solutions, nor for passionate debate. It is for two very simple things: understanding and space. True understanding here is empathetic, not analytical. It's the ability to listen without immediately formulating a counter-argument, to acknowledge fatigue without trying to fix it, to simply say, "I see you, and I'm here." The second need for space is equally vital. This is psychological and physical territory where one can let their guard down completely, where the performance can stop. It might be quiet companionship, a shared meal without agenda, or the freedom to be unproductively lost in one's own thoughts. To provide this is not a sign of disengagement. It is the ultimate form of engagement. It says, "You are safe here. You do not need to earn your place in this moment." Think of the last time you genuinely offered this to someone you love. Did you truly give space? Or was your silence merely a pause before your next point? This disconnect is deeply rooted in gendered social conditioning. Men are often taught to derive identity from competence and problem-solving. Our worth is tied to our utility. Therefore, when we see a loved one in distress, our instinct is to utility. Diagnose, advise, repair. We confuse expressing love with exercising expertise. Women, on the other hand, are often socialized to be relationally attuned and, as a result, can be more acutely aware of emotional undercurrents and potential insincerity. This can manifest as what might be perceived as skepticism or doubt. It's not a lack of trust in you per se. It's a highly tuned radar scanning for authenticity and safety. In a high-stakes decision, this skepticism is a protective mechanism. However, when met with impatience or logical rebuttal from a partner already in professional mode, it can spiral into conflict or lead to impulsive decisions just to assert autonomy. The tragedy is that both parties are operating from legitimate, biologically and socially influenced scripts, but these scripts are for entirely different plays. Let me illustrate with a real-world parallel from the realm of manipulation. Con artists and predatory marketers are master psychologists of this very tension. They understand the human need for trust and certainty, especially when we are fatigued or doubtful. Observe their playbook. They first borrow the aura of unquestionable authority. They appear as doctors, professors, or researchers from a prestigious international institute. They use complex, jargon-filled language, quantum, biohacking, neural optimization, not to educate, but to dazzle and disarm the critical mind. Their goal is to shortcut the natural skepticism by overwhelming it with symbols of credibility. They don't sell a product's features. They sell a story of transformation, packaged in the trappings of elite validation. A person exhausted from a day of making difficult decisions, whose skepticism is fatigued, is uniquely vulnerable to this. They crave a simple solution offered by a confident expert. The scam works because it exploits the exact same need for safety and competence that we bring home, the desire to hand over a complex problem to someone who seems to have all the answers. So, what is the path forward? How do we build a life that doesn't pit our professional survival against our personal fulfillment? The answer lies in conscious, disciplined practice across 3 domains. First, develop awareness of energy expenditure. You must become a forensic accountant of your mental and emotional capital. Start tracking what activities, people, and thoughts drain you versus what replenishes you. This isn't mystical. It's practical. Notice the physical sensations, the tightness in your shoulders, the shallow breath, that signal stress accumulation. Before you leave work, institute a ritual, however brief, to symbolize the shift. It could be 5 minutes of deep breathing, a specific playlist on the commute home, or a mental review of 3 non-work things you're grateful for. This ritual acts as a psychic airlock, preventing the toxic atmosphere of work stress from contaminating your home environment. Second, master the art of context switching and boundary creation. Your brain needs clear signals. The mind that brilliantly negotiates a contract cannot be the same mind that listens to a partner's story about their day. You must actively switch modes. This begins with intentionality. As you approach your home, consciously say to yourself, I am now entering my personal space. My role here is partner, parent, friend, not CEO, not analyst. Create physical or temporal boundaries if possible. Change your clothes immediately. Designate a worry period earlier in the evening to jot down work concerns for the next day. Then close the notebook literally and figuratively. The boundary is not a wall to keep people out. It's a membrane that filters the appropriate energy for the appropriate context. Without it, you are a guest in your own life, still dressed for the wrong occasion. Third, and most crucially, engage in deliberate skill retraining. The behaviors that harm our relationships are often just misapplied professional skills. We need to retrain them for a new context. This means practicing empathetic listening where the goal is connection, not data extraction. It means practicing vulnerability instead of constant competence. It means offering presence instead of propositions. For example, when your partner shares a problem, your first response should not be, "Here's what you should do." But that sounds incredibly difficult. Tell me more. This feels unnatural at first because it is. You are building a new neural pathway. It is a skill as concrete as public speaking or financial modeling. Role-play it. Practice with a friend. Get it wrong, apologize, and try again. The goal is to make these responses so ingrained that they become your default setting at home, just as your professional reflexes are default at work. This journey is not about becoming less effective in the world. It's about becoming more whole as a human. The ultimate sophistication is not in winning every argument, but in discerning which arguments are worth your precious energy and which are mere noise. It is in understanding that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is a thoughtful silence. The strongest posture you can take is one of open, non-judgmental reception. The person who masters the transition between the battlefield and the sanctuary does not become weak. They become resilient. They build a life where success is not a narrow peak of professional achievement, but a fertile valley where both career and relationships can flourish, each nourished by the lessons of the other, yet neither poisoning the well of the other. Consider this. What is the legacy of a life spent winning debates at the cost of connection? What is the value of a fortune accumulated if the price is the peace of your own household? We are not machines designed for relentless output. We are complex organisms that require cycles of exertion and recovery, of expression and quiet, of giving and receiving. The modern world glorifies the exertion, the expression, the giving. The art of living well lies in reclaiming and honoring the recovery, the quiet, the receiving. It starts with the simple, radical act of leaving your professional armor at the door and choosing, moment by moment, to show up for your life not as a title on a business card, but as a full, present, and compassionate human being. That is the real work, and it is the only work that ultimately matters.